Hello, my name is Masumi Rostad, and I'm a viola professor at the Eastman School of Music here in Rochester, New York. This pandemic has presented us with so many unprecedented challenges. One of the biggest questions I have is, how does a higher education institution that specializes in music deal with COVID? Music is taught one-on-one through direct personal interaction. And one of the greatest things about music is collaboration, rehearsing together, working together, and playing together. So come along with me in this series of videos as I attempt to address these questions, and hopefully we'll learn some things and maybe even come up with some answers. I'm sitting here on this beautiful day waiting for my friend and violist colleague, George Taylor. I haven't seen George in months, really since the end of school, and I'm really curious to ask him what he's been doing this summer and if he's been talking with his students and what he plans to do when the semester begins, if it begins. So here we are in the forest.
Here we are in the forest, and
Hi,
the mosquitoes
George.
are not so horrible.
Yeah,
Hey, Masumi.
this is great. And we are not at Eastman.
We're not at Eastman, and I am definitely in COVID mode. I've got the week-long fuzz and the bald
COVID beard.
COVID beard and a COVID head and
COVID do.
the COVID belly. And
So what have you been doing this summer? I haven't seen you in, what is it, 5 months almost?
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, since we've been quarantined, let me see. I did the online teaching, which was wonderful in one way and horrible in another.
What do you understand to be the situation at Eastman with COVID, and what do you think is going to happen?
Well, you know, I do believe that Eastman is trying to honor the wishes of those who want to teach, go back to teaching their students. That it's kind of in flux. My understanding, it's in flux. A lot of the classroom type teaching will be done online. Certain people are setting up lessons in classrooms, so if their studios are not large enough, they will be moved into classrooms, and they want to do that. I'm kind of between worlds with it. I rather disparaging of the Zoom teaching. It is just difficult to teach in one and a half dimensions. The reason why I say 1.5 is if there are 5 dimensions in reality, we have the one dimension presented in front of us, and then the dimension of sound only works half the time.
Right.
So
Yeah.
either your student feels like a harmonium gone haywire,
Yeah.
or a freight train, or in and out, or a buzzsaw, or a hive of bees.
Yeah, it's highly dependent on technical considerations.
Right, and all the subtleties and nuances of vibrato and bow speed and bow weight
Yeah.
are pretty much gone.
Yeah.
So, if you want to teach intonation and some basics about, it's fine. And surprisingly, there's a lot that can be done.
Yeah.
And certainly when you're dealing with the kinds of students we deal with, a little is a lot. We deal in these fine percentages. If someone's playing more in tune at the end of a lesson than they did when they came in, that's fine. But what I personally miss is my own concept of the lesson starting when the student walks in the door, where I'm reading body language, where I'm watching them unpack, where I'm listening to them tune, when I'm asking them about their day, and getting kind of a read on where they are and how quick they are to learn. So, one could argue that part of what a person is valuing is the one-on-one interaction, the idea of handing on this tradition, the idea of the spontaneity of the moment, the idea of having time to tell a story or digress to something you had learned from your teacher. I do have some concerns about teaching,
Yeah, so you
in person.
mentioned at the last faculty meeting that we had in person when this was all blowing up, that you had some health considerations, and if you're comfortable talking about.
Oh, sure. I'm not
thinking,
uncomfortable talking about it. I mean, right now, this allergy season has been really bad.
You have asthma.
Right.
And
I have asthma.
That puts you in some sort of predisposition for COVID.
Major,
right?
major. So, I can imagine instant intubation. So if I add any concern about COVID and what I've read of the symptoms and what happens there, even if I wind up with, like, say, a case of pneumonia, well, pneumonia and asthma, so not a good mix.
Are you scared about teaching in person?
I'm not scared. I'm concerned. I'm greatly concerned because, just given my own kind of psychology, I prefer not to live in fear. But I think a strong, healthy concern is warranted.
So how do you intend on balancing this kind of concern and your desire to teach and be with your students?
Right now I would have to say that I'm in flux because my studio is fairly large, so I can get at least a good 6 to 12 feet, especially if the piano's moved out. I changed the situation in my room. I could probably even get a plexiglass screen in there if I needed to go that far. So, the greater concerns are time. The time it takes to clean and clearing the air, because we know that the virus can hang in the air. So if there was a half hour to an hour between lessons, it's doable. Is that optimal in terms of a use of time? Maybe not. My bigger concerns actually are getting in and out of the building and going to the bathroom.
Right.
If I'm there all day, then I'm more susceptible.
Right.
I'm more susceptible to anything in the hallway. I'm more susceptible to things on door handles. I'm more susceptible to other people's sanitary habits.
Yeah. So do you have any unanswered questions, as we're approaching the school year, as students are starting to trickle in, I think this week, and for their quarantine sessions? Do you have any unanswered questions about how you're going to proceed and what you're anticipating?
My biggest concern, major concern, is this. I don't live alone. I have a wife. There are my wishes to teach my students and be able to be there for them in a meaningful way, but I also have to consider the life of another person. So if I take all measurable, precautions and somehow still wind up bringing it home, then I've not only put myself in danger, but I put my wife in danger.
Right. I think that's one of the biggest factors in this whole COVID situation, is that it's proving just how interconnected we all are.
Right.
So, 2020 has been such a crazy year, and there's been so much going on. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's a loaded question, and how much time do we have? There have been a number of events that happened immediately after the Black Lives Matter movement began to bear new fruit and come to the fore. It came to the fore, of course, with the visual recognition by a country of murder. But now you can't escape it. Mm-hmm. It's there in front of your face. And so the things that black folks have been saying for hundreds of years has reached a critical mass. So it's an opportunity, but it is, I woke up one morning at 2:30 in the morning and I cried for 2 hours. I think when we truly as a nation buy into the idea that we are a nation of immigrants, where we realize the things that have happened to other people and our role in it, this country's role in it, and there's an honest, painful, true dialogue. Because change, I know personally, change is painful. It hurts. It is not easy. But if you're going to change in a meaningful way, you have to go through that first. And so I'm happy in a way to still be here. I think I'm needed here. I love Eastman. I love Rochester. This is my home. And so I'm looking forward to being a part of a solution.
Yeah.
And that's very exciting for me and very affirming.
Yeah.
And as you said earlier, this COVID has brought home in no mean way that we belong to each other.
Right. Well, I look forward to checking in with you quite soon and seeing where this all goes.
Well, colleague, we shall be back in the saddle again soon enough.
Yes.
Well, if nothing, you have sound.